Hey guys, Matt here, Rec Brewery. Happy Homebrew Wednesday. Going for 2 in a row here. Hopefully we can keep that trend going, time permitting. I got a couple things to talk about today. We did a brew day last week, so you saw hopefully you saw the footage of that. That was the apple cinnamon wheat that I started. I'll talk about that a little bit. I just kegged it tonight, so we'll show a little bit of footage on that as well. This beer, because I don't have anything on tap at the moment. As I was looking at the back of the fridge, and I noticed that I had a couple of homebrews that I had stored in the back intentionally, probably. One of them was my Scotch Ale, was Kilt Kicker. That was a beer that me and Dennis both did a couple years ago, actually. And honestly, I think I just forgot about it. But that beer did really well for aging for a couple years, for just sitting in the fridge for a couple years. It was really, really good, and I enjoyed it. I had it with dinner the other day. This one, it was intentionally tucked into the back of the fridge though, because now I don't know if I meant to keep it in the fridge this long. This beer came from Wally when he sent me a care package, and we were doing a collab, I think at the time, for something else, and he sent me this. He did a collab with Dean's List. This is the Big Ass Barrel Barley Wine. It's 12% beer. Yeah, I purposely held on to this. I think he had aged it before already, and I meant to just keep it around for a few months and then drink it, and I just forgot about it. So I figured now would be a good time to crack into this. I just love his labels and his caps. The "Feck this, I'm homebrewing." I love it. Wally, you're awesome. And everything I've gotten from Wally over the years has been top notch. So I'm really looking forward to this. It's a big boy, so I'm gonna have to really savor this tonight. Yeah, that's, I'll leave the rest of that behind just in case. Yeah, a little bit of dregs on the bottom. But look at that. That's I might have clouded it a little bit, but it's actually pretty clear. Can't fully see through, but I think that's my fault. Might probably pour a little bit too much of the bottom in there, but that looks really cool. It's a really nice sort of like a nice deep copper color. For barley wine, though, I expect the head to not stick around with it being 12%. These high alcohol beers have a hard time doing that, but it's got a nice cap on it, though. It's quickly dissipating. Oh yeah, that's that's awesome. That reminds me of a beer that I brewed a couple years ago, which I plan on brewing again. I brewed a beer called Rasputin's Beard. It's a Russian Imperial Stout, and it has a similar nose. Where so this one I might get a little bit of like the roasty. You probably put a little bit of roasted malts in there, or some dark crystal or something to get this color. So I can get a little bit of that. But I'm picking up on some sort of like a plum, some fig, some dark fruits in the nose. That's really nice, really inviting. And it's probably has a little bit of an alcohol hint to it in the nose, but not as much as you would expect for 12%. So hey, let's dive right in. Cheers. That is a very full beer. That's good. Yeah, the taste follows the nose too. I should have probably went back and watched Wally's review of this before but I didn't want to have a cloud of judgment on this. I wanted to kind of have a fresh take on this and try to come up with my own descriptors. But the taste definitely follows the nose on that. I definitely can taste some of that dark fruit, sort of like a raisiny, little bit of plum. Some of that character comes from like the special bee malt that I use in the Rasputin's Beard, and I wonder if he used the special bee in this. Yeah, that's awesome. Nice job, Wally and Mike. You guys put together a nice beer here. I've never actually made a barley wine. I'm honestly a little bit afraid to. Every time I've tried to make a high alcohol beer, it usually comes in lower than what I plan. So the efficiency on it never comes out. So I wonder if I have to like really overshoot what I'm after just to get the number that I really want. Like for example, the Rasputin's Beer, whenever I make that beer, I aim for like 1100, so it's the 1.10. but I end up getting like 1085, 1090 at the highest. I'm gonna try that again this year, probably over the summer, because I usually like to make that beer so it can age and be prepared for the winter. So some of the stuff that I wanted to talk about today, just going over a little bit of the brew day. I took some notes, as I usually do, for the apple cinnamon wheat. It was a beer that was kind of concocted by a friend and me. We didn't collab because he's not a brewer, but he wanted to have an apple wheat beer, and I intended for this to be a fall beer. So it was supposed to be apple cinnamon wheat, kind of a fall themed kind of a thing. And I just never had the time to brew it. So I finally got around to brewing it last week. And I basically used a similar base to this as I do for my watermelon week. I tweaked it a little bit. So I did 6 pounds of Pilsner, 5 pounds of wheat, a pound of the torrefied wheat to kind of help with the clarity of it and the head retention. And I also put a little bit of carapils in there. I needed to put some acidulated malt. I think I put a little too much. I put 6 ounces down, but I probably could have gotten away with doing 4 or 5 ounces because I ended up needing to do some pickling lime. Not much. I think I put like a 1/4 teaspoon or something, and maybe 1/8 of a teaspoon, just to kind of raise that pH up, because it came out to like a 5.05 or something like that in the mash, and that was enough the pickling lime was enough to bring it up to like 5.23, so that worked out okay. The water profile on this one, very balanced. I definitely upped the numbers into sort of like the 50 range, so to make sure I get enough calcium in there, some chloride and sulfates, but kind of even across the board. 50 calcium, 60 chloride, 70 SO4, so that kind of made a nice balance. I probably could have gone lower with those numbers just because it was a light beer, but I figured, those are similar numbers as I did with my watermelon wheat, so I figured I couldn't go wrong with that. The hops that I used up some hops that I had. Some of them were from a hops experiment, others came from Yakima Valley. So I wanted to try out some of that. And I also wanted to get rid of some hops that I just sort of had like low quantities of. So I ended up using Bitter Gold for the hopping, for the bittering. And I just used up the remainder of the Fuggles and the Sprizzles broth that I had laid in the boil, just to kind of give a little bit of flavor and bring up the IBUs to the range I wanted. Didn't have a cinnamon stick. I meant to pick one up, so I just used the ground cinnamon in there in the boil. And for the apple flavor, so I ended up getting this from Olive Nation. I had good results with Olive Nation with their flavorings. This is the green apple flavor. This is the smallest bottle I could find online at the time, so I have a lot of this left over. But I just put an ounce in the keg while I was transferring, so you can. I'll try to overlay some video here. I transferred it tonight, cold crashed it over the weekend, and I used my bouncer to kind of fill out any kind of particulate that might be left in there. Because when I was brewing, I actually had stopped up the chiller. This has only happened a couple of times to me, and it usually happens when I do a lot of hops and I don't use the spider for everything. This has been a great chiller for me. It came from Northern Brewer. It's all stainless steel, and it was very easy to just sort of screw in all the connectors to it. So I really like this. It's very easy to use. I didn't have to solder or weld anything on here or come up with any crazy attachments for it. But I guess it does have a chance of clogging up if you use a lot of hops. So in my case, I only used, I don't know, not even an ounce of hops. So between the hops and the ground cinnamon, I didn't think that would have clogged it up. It wasn't that much, but it was enough that it did. But it was easy to take care of it. I just reversed the flow, and it popped right back out again. So I have a lot of that in the video, in the Brew Day video, so you can check that out. But as far as the transferring went perfectly fine. Got a full 5 gallon keg out of it. So my volumes on the Brew Day were perfect. So that worked out really good. Just tastes even better just sitting there. Had a chance to kind of warm up a little bit. Definitely a sipper though, so I'm not going to finish that one on camera. Yeah, so everything worked out good with that. And then also, just a quick little shout out to PBW. I put a couple of social media plugs for this out on the webs over the last week between Brew Day and everything. Used that to clean out all my kettles after the Brew Day, as I normally do. I used their, I don't have it here, it's over there somewhere, but I used their liquid line cleaner product. Got a little bit of video that I can overlay here with that. Basically, there was really nothing to do. I had a couple of lines in the kegerator that, because I hadn't used the kegerator in the last probably couple of months. And I remember I had what did I have on there last? I had the watermelon wheat on there last, I believe. Or it might have been a darker beer now that I think about it. And then the other side had a sarsaparilla, because I made it soda for the kids. And I didn't clean it out properly. I just kind of, after the keg's emptied, I just let it sit there. You know, life happened. So the liquid line cleaner was great because I mixed up a solution by the instructions of it, put it into one of my kegs, ran a jumper to go across the two taps and then out into a bucket. And I just ran that cleaner through there. By the time it was done, and I probably had maybe a half of a keg filled with the solution, so it wasn't like a full 5 gallons. I think I made like a 3-gallon amount of it. And by the time it was done, it got rid of all the crud that was in those lines. And that was solid in there. There was no way I was going to be able to get them out without soaking it in something or trying to figure out how to get like one of those wire brushes in there, or the bottle cleaner brushes through there somehow to clean the whole line. Or at that point, just replace the line, right? They're so cheap. But that liquid line cleaner worked out flawlessly. It got everything out of there. They were so clean. And I wish I took a picture of the before and after. I didn't. But you'll see through the overlay that that water was pretty nasty. So it got it all out of there. Last thing I wanted to talk about is these probes. Man, these things have been trouble. I've replaced them now twice, so hopefully that's out of the system now. When I first put together this system, we're talking 3-4 years ago, I think, something like that. It worked great. I didn't have any trouble with it the first year. It was great, and I've had zero issues with the kettles up until about a year in. And it was these probes, I come to find out, because I was trying to figure out why my temperatures were so out of whack. And I replaced them, and I was good for a while again. But then last year, it happened again. And it's not, the boil kettle one has been fine ever since. The mash one, I don't think I've ever replaced that, honestly. It's always the one in the hot liquor tank, and I'm not quite sure why that is. I don't know if these things just go bad easily, or I just got a couple of, crappy quality probes. I got these from the electric brewery. So they're the people that put together the parts for the panel. So I have, so these are two of the old ones that I've now replaced. So the last time that I replaced these, I just said, screw it, I'm going to replace all of them just to start off with a clean slate so I don't have any issues. So I did that a couple of months ago. And now I have that, and I also have an extra one. So they put these together really nice. They gave me a cable. They gave me the gasket that goes around there so you don't get it wet when you're not using it, and also a new probe. So I have new probes in all three of these now, and I have a spare in case one of them goes on me again. But I'm like really paranoid now. Every couple of the last couple of brew days, I'm in the hot liquor tank with a thermometer to make sure it's what it says it is. And so far so good. The only problem that I've had from the last brew day is the temperature probes. I noticed they were acting up at first when it was real cold, because I had started brewing in the morning, and it might have been like 40 degrees. So I don't know if the cold affects it or not, but after a few minutes it was reading normal again. So hopefully that's all behind me now. But anyway, that's really all I have. I'm hoping to brew up a blonde ale. I don't know if I'm going to have time this week, but maybe next, because I want to kind of get a couple things going. I want to get the kegerator filled up and get some stuff ready for the spring. So with that's it. That's all I have this week, guys. So happy Homebrew Wednesday. Hopefully I'll talk to you again next week. Cheers. Have a good night.